This is ninth grade. We're starting to read the book for the day. He who once ruled was furled in fire and had to face the worst. No help or backing was to be had then from his highborn comrades. That hand-picked troop broke ranks and ran for their lives for safety of the woods. But within one heart, sorrow swelled up. In a man of worth, the claims of kinship cannot be denied. So, what happened to his men? Except for one guy. And his name is Wiglaf. So circle his name. His name was Wiglaf, son of Woestan, a well-regarded Shilfing warrior related to Alfir. When he saw his lord tormented by the heat of the scalding helmet, he remembered the beautiful gifts bestowed on him, how well he lived among the Wagmundings, the freehold he inherited from his father before him. He could not hold back. One hand brandished the yellow timbered shield, the other drew his sword, an ancient blade that was said to have belonged to Ianman, the son of Ophir, the one Weostan had slain when he was in exile without friends. He carried the arms to the victim's kinfolk, the burnished helmet, the webbed chain mail, that relic of the giants. But Onella returned the weapons to him, rewarded Weostan with Inman's war gear. He ignored the blood feud, the fact that Inman was his brother's son. So this guy, it says he not only could he not run, but he couldn't just stand there. He had to go help Beowulf. And he seems to be motivated by gratitude. That's really important. He says he remembered his father, remembered the way he was raised, he's going to remember Beowulf, all the good things he had done. So gratitude is a great motivation to do something. Weostan kept that war gear for a lifetime, the sword and the mail shirt, until it was the son's turn to follow his father and perform his part. Then in old age, at the end of his days, among the weather geese, he bequeathed to Wiglaf innumerable weapons. And now the youth, Wiglaf, was to enter the line of battle with his lord, his first time to be tested as a fighter. His spirit did not break, and the ancestral blade would keep its edge, as the dragon discovered as soon as they came together in combat. So it sort of suggests that Wiglaf is going to play an important role in this fight with the dragon. Sad at heart, addressing his companions, Wiglaf spoke wise and fluent words. I remember that time when mead was flowing, how we pledged loyalty to our lord in the hall, promised our ring giver we would be worth our price, make good the gifts of the war gear, those swords and helmets, as and when his need required. He picked us out from the army deliberately, honored us and judged us fit for this action, made me these lavish gifts. And all because he considered us the best of his arm-bearing things. And now, although he wanted this challenge to be one he'd face by himself, alone, the shepherd of our land, a man unequaled in the quest for glory and a thing for daring, and a name for daring, now the day has come when his Lord we serve needs sound men to give him their support. Let us go to him, help our leader through the hot flame, the dread of the fire. As God is my witness, I would rather my body be robed in the same burning blaze as my gold giver's body than go back home bearing arms. The idea of going home without helping Beowulf was unbearable to him. He couldn't do that. He couldn't leave Beowulf. That is unthinkable unless we have first slain the foe and defended the life of the prince of the weather geese. I well know the thing he has done for us deserves better. See how grateful he is to Beowulf. Should he alone be left exposed to fall in battle, we must bond together, shield and helmet, mail shirt and sword. Then he waded the dangerous reef and went under arms to his lord, saying only, "Go on, dear Beowulf. Do everything you said you would when you were still young, and vowed you would never let your name and fame be dimmed while you live. Your deeds are famous, so stay resolute, my lord. Defend your life now with the whole of your strength. I shall stand by you. So at that point, why don't we start with Amelia? Would you read
Oh, yeah.
181?
After those words, a wildness rose in the dragon again, and drove it to attack, heaving up fire, hunting for enemies, the humans it loathed. Flames lapped the shield, charred it. Flames lapped the shield, charred it to the boss, and the body armor of the young warriors was useless to him. But with Wiglaf did well under the black rim, Beowulf shared with him, and once his own had shattered in sparks and ashes.
All right, Griffin.
Inspired again by the thought of glory, the war king threw his whole strength behind a sword stroke and connected with the skull. Enabling snap of Beowulf's ancient iron gray sword and let him down to the end of life. It was never his fortune to be helped in combat by the cutting edge of weapons made of iron. He wielded a sword no matter how blooded and hard-edged the blade. His hand was too strong. The stroke he dealt, I have heard, would ruin it. He could reap no advantage.
Why could Beowulf never use a sword?
He was too strong.
Right, they always broke. Jacob.
Then the bane of that people, the fire-breathing dragon, was mad to attack for a third time. When a chance came, he caught the hero in a rush of flame, and glanced sharp fangs into his neck. Beowulf's body ran wet with his lifeblood. It came well now.
So what happened to Beowulf?
He just got bitten in the neck.
This doesn't look good. This could be it for him. Caroline.
Next thing they say, the noble son of Beowulf's saw the sun in danger at his side, and displayed his envy and bravery and strength. He loved the head alone, but his fighting hand was burned when he came to his kinsman's aid. He lunged at the enemy and slowed it down, so that his decorated sword sank into his belly, and the flames grew weaker.
Okay, good.
Once again the king gathered his strength and drew his stabbing knife he carried on his belt, sharpened for battle. He stuck it deep into the dragon's flank. Beowulf dealt it a deadly wound. Then they had killed the enemy. Courage quelled his life. The pair of kinsmen, partners in nobility, had destroyed the foe. So every man should act, be at hand when needed. But now for the king, this would be the last of his many labors and triumphs in the world.
So who kills the dragon?
Beowulf.
Beowulf kills the dragon, but Wiglaf actually also stabbed him. But he's giving Beowulf the credit for actually killing him. Sarah.
Then the wound dealt by the ground burner earlier began to scald and swell. Beowulf discovered deadly poison separating inside him. Surges of nausea, and so, in his wisdom, the prince realized his state and struggled towards a seat on the rampart. He steadied his gaze on those gigantic stones, saw how the earthwork was braced with arches built over columns. And now that Thane, unaqualled for goodness, with his own hands washed his lord's wounds, swabbed the weary prince with water, bathed him clean, unbuckled his helmet.
So Beowulf is not dead, but he's dying. All right. Yes. Beowulf spoke.
Beowulf spoke in spite of his wounds. Mortal wounds he still spoke, for he well knew that his days in the world had been lived out to the end. His allotted time was drawing to a close. Death was very near.
Do you mind reading a little more?
Now is the time when I would have wanted to bestow his armor on my own son, and it had been my fortune to have fathered and hear and live on his flesh. For 50 years I ruled this nation. No king of any neighboring clan would dare face me with troops. None had the power to intimidate me. I took what came, cared for and stood by things in my keeping. Never permitted quarrels, never swore a lie. All this consoles me, doomed as I am sickening for death. because of my reverence. The ruler of mankind need never blame me when the breath leaves my body. The murder of kingsmen, go now quickly, dearest Wiglaf, under the great stone where the dragon is laid out. Lost his treasure, hurry to feast your eyes on the fort. Away you go, I want to examine the ancient gold, gaze my fill on those garden jewels. My going will be easier for having seen the treasure, a less tributed letting go of the life of a lordship I have long maintained.
What's the last thing Beowulf asked?
He wants to see the treasure.
He wants to see what all the fuss was about. We go to Grace.
And so I have heard the son of Wisdom quickly obeyed the command of his languishing, war-weary lord. He went in his chainmail under the rock-piled roof of the barrow, exulting in his triumph, and saw beyond the sea a treasure trove of astonishing richness. Well hangings that were a wonder to behold, glittering gold spread across the ground, the old dawn scorching serpents then packed with goblets and vessels from the past, tarnished and corroding. Rusty helmets all eaten away, armbands everywhere, artfully wrought. How easily treasure buried in the ground, gold hidden, however skillfully, can escape from any man.
That last statement is one of your questions. I don't know which one it is, but it asks you to explain it. He says, how easily treasure buried in the ground, gold hidden, however skillfully, can escape from any man. I think it asks us, you know what it means?
I think it means that, like, it means all these worldly possessions and stuff, but the guy who had it all died, so it doesn't matter.
And did you notice the state of some of the treasure?
It's already gone.
Yeah, it's rusty helmets, tarnished and corroding. So some of it's already even underground.
What does it mean?
Would you say that? Would you say that again? For Liza, maybe? Would you repeat what you
Oh,
said?
me, I thought you were laughing at her.
Repeat your answer to the
Oh, my
question.
answer, yes, sorry. If with all the riches and stuff, if you die, it doesn't matter anymore. So,
Because?
Because, you don't have it when you're dead, and also it'll start to rot away and rust.
Good. Two things. It's two good comments there. All right, so I just remember the scene, I don't know why, in National Treasure, the first one, when he goes into church and he goes downstairs and they find the cave and the cavern and it's filled with jewels. You remember this?
Yes.
And he lights it up, and it's something like that, except all that was in pristine condition. This stuff is not. It was just buried underground. Amanda.
And he saw too a standard entirely of gold, hanging high over a board, a masterpiece of filigree. It glowed with light, so he could make out the ground at his feet, and inspect the valuables. Of the dragon there was no remaining sign. The sword was dispatched him. Then the story goes, a certain man plundered the hoard in that immemorable, how do you say that word?
In memoriam.
No, the other one.
How?
Filled his arms with bellows and favors and plates, anything he wanted, and took the standard also, most brilliant and of banner.
All right. 8.
Already the blade of the old king's sharp-killing sword had done its worst. The one who had for long lined up the horde, hovering over gold, unleashing fire, surging forth midnight after midnight, had been found.
Would you just read to the bottom?
Wiglaf went quickly, keen to get back, excited by the treasure. Anxiety weighed on his brave heart. He was hoping he would find the leader of the Geats alive where he had left them helpless earlier on the open ground.
Brother Man, would you read there, top of 189?
So he came to the place carrying the treasure and found his lord bleeding profusely, his life at an end. Again he began to swab his body. The beginnings of an utterance broke
So what was one of the motivations for killing the dragon? What's he gonna do with the treasure?
Give it to his people.
Right, so he's not like the dragon. The dragon was willing to kill for one missing piece. Beowulf is willing to kill, but he's gonna give all of this back to his people. He's not keeping it, he can't keep it, but he seems to have the right motive. You can keep reading.
Now that I have bartered my last breath to a misfortune, it is up to you to look after their needs. I can hold out no longer. Order my troops to construct a barrow on a headland on the coast after my fire has cooled. It will loom on the horizon at Horosness and be a reminder among my people, so that in coming times, crews under sail will call it Beowulf's Barrow as they steer ships across the wide and shrouded waters.
All right, so he wants a barrow to be made. A barrow is a mound, so they're gonna cremate him, and then they're gonna put his ashes inside this mound that's gonna be constructed on a headline, which is overlooking the sea, so that when people sail by, they'll see the barrow in top, sort of as a gravestone thing. Julie.
Then the king in his great heartedness unclasped the collar of gold from his neck and gave it to the young thing, telling him to use it in the war shirt and the gilded helmet of, well, you are the last of us, the only one left of the, what is that word?
Ragmandine.
Wagmundings. Fate swept us away, sent my whole brave highborn clan to their final doom. Now I must follow them. That was the warrior's last word.
He's dead. At the top of the next page, we'll read that and we'll mark it. Julie, you mind reading that? He had no more.
He had no more to confide. The furious heat of the pyre would assail him. His soul fled from his breast to its destined place among the steadfast ones.
So he's officially dead. If you want to mark it, I did. Beowulf dies.
Did he start burning alive?
No, he's dead.
Oh.
He's cremated, gonna be
He
cremated.
said there were times that the furious was high would assail him, so he's talking and then as the fire's going.
No, he just literally died, and they'll get to the other in just a minute. You can read that part. It was hard then.
It was hard then on the young hero, having to watch the one he held so dear there on the ground, going through his death anguish. The dragon from under earth, his nightmarish destroyer, lay destroyed as well, utterly without life. No longer would his snake bolts ply themselves to safeguard his hidden treasure. Hard-edged blades hammering out as keenly fired. They had finished his, so that the sky roamer lay there rigid, brought low beside the treasure.
Right?
Ever good with the glittering glad, show himself often in the night air, exulting in his riches, he fell to earth through the battle strength of Beowulf's arms. There I met you, in the scars I heard, big and brave as a near there. You who held out as if you had escaped the outpourings of that poison bear, or longed for evening on the wind hall floor, and found the deep barrower lower and barred.
Would you write the word elegy in the margin here, because this section of the book is an elegy.
What margin?
Right here, just somewhere on the page. An elegy, do you know what an elegy is?
It's about
I can't remember
somebody's
which
death.
It's about death. Elegy. Yeah, somebody's died and somebody writes a poem about that person, but also about death, like meditating and thinking about what death is like. Julie, you just finished, right? I mean, yes, all right. So Olivia finished, we'll go to Charlie, yeah. The treasure's been won, is that it?
Yes.
Charlie?
The treasure had been won, bought and paid for by Beowulf's death. Both had reached the end of the road through the life they haven't been had. The battle dodgers abandoned the wood, the ones who had let down their word earlier. The tail turners, 10 of them being, when he needed them the most, they had made off. Now they were ashamed and came behind shields in their battle outfit, to where the old man lay. watched Wiglaf sitting worn out, a comrade shoulder to shoulder with his lord, trying in vain to bring him round with water. Much as he wanted to, there was no way he could preserve his lord's life on earth, or alter, at least, the Almighty's will. What God judged right would rule what happened to every man, as it does to this day.
You see what's left of the word sovereignty there? That's the key trait of God in this book. What does it mean?
It means that he's all powerful,
And he rules. R-U-L-E-S. He rules. He's a king, and he rules. Rulers do things. They work in the world, and so he rules and he works. We saw that over here. And remember, two things. He determines when you live, when you die. He determines who wins. So in this book, those two things are often mentioned, that it was his time to die. God determined this time for so-and-so to die. But he also determined that Beowulf would win these battles, or that somebody else would win. And we'll go finish up with Dominic.
Thy sturdy youth was bound with him, and the young warrior to the ones who'd been cowards. Wiglaf, son of Wilson, spoke, disdainfully and in disappointment. Anyone ready to admit the truth will surely realize that the Lord of men showered you with gifts and gave you the armor you are standing in, when he would distribute helmets and shirts to men on the knees benches, the prince treating disdains and harm, the best he could find, far or near, was throwing weapons uselessly away. It would be a sad waste when war broke out. Beowulf had little cause to brag about his armed guard. Yet God ordains who wins or loses, allowed him to strike with his own blade when pleasure was needed. There was little I could do to protect his life in the heat of the fray, yet I found new strength growing up when I went to help him. Yet my sword connected in the deadly assaults of our foe grew weaker. The fire coursed less strongly from his head, but when the worst happened, too few yards around the fence.
So let's mark it right there. We're finished. Go get out your questions. Let's talk about some of the ones that we haven't answered yet. So we got about 3 minutes. All right, what do I need to help you with here? We should be down to at least question 67 as far as the reading.
Would you answer 64?
All right, would you read 64?
On page 175 to 181, we learn that only one of Beowulf's warriors stood behind him to fight the dragon. To what extent were the warriors who ran away responsible for Beowulf's fate, if at all?
It's really your opinion. The facts are that you need to remember that he was the only one, Wiglaf was the only one to fight. I don't know, it's Beowulf's fault. He also didn't ask for these guys to fight. And then when things got hot, literally hot, they ran away. So it's your opinion. You can decide. 65. Beowulf's request as he's suffering from his wound to see the treasure. What might have prompted him to issue such a request?
He wanted to see what, he died for.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. 66. And we answered this, Andrew answered this for us. Discuss the significance of this line, how easily treasure buried to ground can escape from any man. So we already did that. Yeah. Remind us. Remind us the answer.
It's just, it's basically useless to men.
Make sure they can hear you.
It's useless to men after they die, and we'll just go back to being the ground.
Right. All right, so we will stop here. We are really about 10 pages away. We don't have much left.
Wait, so on the test, do we have to know about all of the kings and queens and stuff?
Well, look at your review sheet. Yeah, I listed the kings there, I think, that you need to remember.